Today, I'm in the studio with Elizabeth Lewis. She's the founder and CEO of Brand Style and Bloom by Elizabeth Danielle. Through personal branding and personal styling, she helps people reveal the best versions of themselves to reach their goals in life. She has a personal styling certification from the LA-based School of Style. Previously, she worked as a brand manager at Colgate-Palmolive Company, managing top brands such as Optic White, Palmolive, and Irish Spring. In addition to Colgate, she led and assisted with branding projects while working at Penguin Random House Speakers Bureau and La Placa Cohen, an agency that offers strategic and creative solutions for the cultural world. She holds a master's in business administration from the NYU Stern School of Business and a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature from Washington University in St. Louis. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So I love that you're bringing together your two loves of personal branding and personal styling. And my first question is really around this idea of personal style, right? I think especially for a lot of, people in general, but just in terms of women, style can really define what you feel like inside. So I'm curious just about what led you to focus on this as your primary line of work.
Yeah, so my journey has been multifaceted, but it's also come kind of full circle. So when I was little, I was obsessed with fashion. I would try on my mother's clothes, like her cocktail dresses. I would wear her high heels. I tried to be really crafty and make shoes out of construction paper. And I would wear them around, and I tried to wear them outside, and that didn't work out very well in the long term. But I always had a love of fashion. So, of course, I was thinking, as a person who loved fashion, the main career route was to become a fashion designer. So I went to college, I took a class in fashion design and found out, I'm not very good at this. It was something about making the patterns, like the sewing. I don't know. I just couldn't really get into it. More of my interests were around how the whole outfit kind of came together. But I wasn't really familiar with personal styling at that point. So I decided to pursue some other creative interests of mine. The first one being working in book publishing, because I always had a love of reading and the written word. So my first job was working at Penguin Random House, and that was wonderful, just kind of meeting authors, working to build an area of the business called the Speakers Bureau, and at the time, the book industry was being very disrupted by electronic books. And so it was an additional stream of revenue, so I assisted a team of lecture agents to book authors and then to just kind of build the brand presence for the Speakers Bureau. I also worked in nonprofits, and then I decided to go to business school because I loved branding, but I didn't really know kind of like the quantitative side. I knew more of kind of the interpersonal building relationship side of branding. And so in school, I studied marketing and branding, and then when I left school, I worked at Colgate-Palmolive as a brand manager, working on a lot of the brands that you mentioned. And to be honest, my long-term goal was to kind of work there for a couple of years and then go back to a fashion company, just kind of work in marketing there, and then launch my business. But while I was at Colgate, I really found that, they were moving me around to a lot of different areas of the company, and I just kept learning a lot and improving my branding chops. But the time came, I always had this itch inside of me of my personal branding and personal styling business. So I started putting the formation of it together. I put my website together. I had the main idea. I got my styling certification from the School of Style. And then just kind of had like a couple of test clients testing out the idea. And my inspiration really came because branding is all about putting together a story. It's all about a story of what makes something unique and what makes it different. So I was improving my branding chops, and then the idea of personal styling, when I got the personal styling certification, just kind of the story behind that was such a key way to express a brand. So then I decided to marry those two things together between the branding and the styling. The branding is the story of who a person is, and then the styling is how they express that on an everyday basis. So after about 5 years, I decided that it was time for me to take the next step. I had two choices that I was facing. My first choice was, okay, I'll go work at a fashion corporation, learn more about fashion, then launch my business, in like 5 or 10 years, right? And then the second choice that I had was, okay, should I take the leap now? At this point in my life, I don't have any kids, so there was kind of no one else who I had to support. The only person who I had to support was myself. I knew that this was a move that I wanted to take, so I had been saving some money along the way, and I tested the idea, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of people. So I decided to take the leap, and about 3 months ago, I launched my business, Brand Style and Bloom by Elizabeth Danielle.
Awesome. So when it comes to people who are coming to you as clients, right, what are some of the main challenges that they have? And are they coming only for personal branding, only personal styling, or is it always a mix of both?
Well, a lot of times when clients come to me, it actually is more centered around the personal styling piece. Either they're really bored with their wardrobes, they have a lot of stuff to wear, but don't really know how to put those things together or don't know how to put different combinations together. Basic ways of forming an outfit. They find themselves wearing the same thing every day, so they don't know how to kind of mix and match those colors. And so when they come to me, it's really more based on the style. But when I start with the branding with them, because that's really the key foundation of how you strategically express your style, they really understand how all of that is interlinked and related.
So they're coming because they're bored or they're frustrated, or what's really the underlying emotion there?
Yeah. Well, the underlying emotion that it is, I mean, boredom is a key part of it, but it's really about a transition that they're facing in their lives. So either in their career, they're feeling like maybe they're not getting ahead, they're not getting maybe the opportunities that they want, or in their personal life, they might not be meeting the types of people who they want to have a life partnership with. And so it really comes from this area of feeling a little bit stuck and wanting to find ways to break out of that.
And it's in many ways like the desire to be more, because you maybe feel like you're not enough in that current state, right?
Exactly.
And so what do you typically advise people, like when they come to you and they're saying, I'm feeling stuck, I'm feeling like, my network's not good enough, the opportunities coming to me aren't enough. What's the first thing you do for them?
Yeah. So the first thing I do is I really want to understand why they're coming to me. What is it that they think that the personal styling will help them with? And it always kind of starts out with those more surface things. And then as I dig deeper, I'm getting more to those pain points that we just discussed. So my very first thing is, after we have that consultation, I have the branding session with them. And the way that I do it is I ask one prompt. I say, what does your dream life look like? And then we have a vision boarding session. And so I bring maybe like 5 different magazines to the session. So I'll bring a copy of National Geographic, for travel. I'll bring copies of fashion magazines, men's magazines. It could be, sports magazines. It could just be anything that's across a line of different hobbies, business magazines, interests, because people are multifaceted. So then after I give them that prompt, they cut out the images and I say, it can be a person, it can be a color, it can be a phrase that appeals to you. So then they cut out all of these images, and then the real work happens when I ask them why they chose those certain images. And the stories come out and recurring themes emerge. And so I'll give you an example.
Yeah, that'd be great.
One of my clients, he chose a picture of a private jet. And so usually when you think of a private jet, you're thinking, okay, this person obviously wants to have a lot of money. They want to be able to travel the world in style. I mean, that's something that's like very luxe, right? And so what happened was, when he explained to me why he chose that image, it was really a phrase below the image that he was interested in that was written on the bottom of the page. And the phrase said, an elevated experience. And so it wasn't about the private jet. It was about being something that was above being basic, something that felt special, not just run of the mill. But the term elevated has a very different connotation than a private jet. So it's the power of those stories.
Yeah, and I always talk about people's desire for significance, right? To feel like you are unique. And so much of the life experience is really that, right? we're doing things and achieving things and like starting things to feel like our life actually matters and has significance.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And what about, I would love a specific experience about a female client of yours, right? And perhaps an image that she chose and you found something underneath that.
Yeah, definitely. So I had a client who had just moved to New York City from LA. And so LA and New York, they have very different cultures, right? So she was used to being in a pretty relaxed environment. And for her, if someone just kind of looked at her without knowing her, they would think, oh, she might not have a sense of urgency. She might, not have the passion that this opportunity requires. But if you talk to her, she has all of that inside of her. It just wasn't being expressed. So I didn't even know about that, with her, to be honest. So then when she started choosing her images, she chose lots of colors like in red. She chose images of people at play, like doing lots of leisurely things. She chose images of people who were really kind of going after something, right? So then when she told me the stories of why she chose those things, the 3 words that we chose for her were fierce, dynamic, and playful. And those were all words that someone might not necessarily associate with her unless they know her. So then once we had those words identified, I was able to choose clothing for her, colors for her, fits and cuts for her that really communicated what that brand was. So then she had the confidence because she knew that she didn't have to work extra hard to convince people of what she was about. She was already closer to that, and that made her feel more confident. So she would show me pictures of her doing presentations or models like that. And I would see that increased confidence in her. It would be very palpable. And she told me that she felt that inside. And that was so rewarding.
Wow. It's, again, like incredible, just even from the way that I started this conversation with you was about how much style can affect, your external style can affect your internal world, right?
Yes,
your internal
yes,
perspective.
absolutely.
So after that person does the vision board, how do you translate? You mentioned that you get the cuts and you get the colors and the styles. What happens next? Like, do you go look at brochures or do you go to the stores with them? What happens?
Yeah, so what happens next is when I have those 3 words, I do a wardrobe consultation because people generally have a lot of clothes in their closet, but they probably only wear like 20% of those clothes. So I want to dig through everything that they have because I want to save people money too. Like I don't want to throw out a lot of their wardrobe if it's not necessary. But together, and all of this is together because this is about the person. It's not about me. It's about the process and the person. So they have to be part of the journey every step of the way. So we sort the clothes into 3 piles. The first pile is, okay, we both believe that these clothes communicate those 3 brand words. So these are a slam dunk, right? And they might be clothes that are buried in the back of their closet, but once they see, oh, this actually is who I am, then they're like, okay, let's do this, right? Yep. The second pile is, okay, we need to revisit this. We're not quite ready to put in the yes pile or the no pile, but let's come back to it. And then the third pile is, this absolutely does not communicate your brand at all. So for her, she's very lucky. She hasn't changed sizes in many years. So she had a lot of clothes that were left over from, high school or college, and those clothes absolutely did not communicate who she was today. So, they could be like cut off shorts or really like super flowy tops that didn't accentuate her shape and the fierce aspect of her brand. So we got rid of those clothes, or we can sign them or donate them, or we can store them in another part of the closet if the person isn't ready to quite get rid of them yet and has separation anxiety, but we remove them. And then after we've done that wardrobe consultation, along the way in that, I also show them new ways to wear clothing. So I teach them concepts about color, okay? So you have a neutral and you pair it with a color. You can work with complementary colors, but I help them kind of with the color palette so that they see why this can go with this, right?
Got it. And how long does that a process actually take?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the amount of clothes in the closet,
Yeah.
but it can take anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty comprehensive because they're also trying on a lot of the clothes because something may look amazing on the hanger, but if it doesn't fit you anymore, it doesn't look amazing on you.
Right.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So then after that process, I go shopping for them. So any kind of essentials that they're missing that make building their clothing and their outfits easier each day, like a black dress or like a black blazer or certain accessories that they can wear every day and make it easier for them and save them time, I shop for those, but in ways that, again, communicate those 3 words. And then I also shop for things that that they don't have or aren't basics, but also ladder up to those 3 words as well. So a lot of that time that can include really special accessories, or it can include more color. So for her, we chose this amazing skirt that had all these different colors, bright reds, bright greens, and then some neutrals, white, black. But she wasn't really a huge fan of color. But color absolutely communicates fierceness and the dynamic aspect of her brand. And so that's how we kind of analyze that together. And then once I've done the shopping, I bring all those clothes to my client to try on in the comfort of their home or in a mutual place that we've decided on.
So you're taking that risk of doing it for them, but not necessarily knowing if it will fit.
Exactly. But I've done measurements for them beforehand, and that's kind of the initial work that we do in that beginning consultation, is that I get all their measurements and things. So I have an idea, but if it doesn't work, but we like how it looks as a whole, then I'll go and exchange it for them because my clients are busy. So I want to also save them as much time as possible.
And how long is that process for you, right? And how do you figure out the budget, and how do those clients figure out the budget?
Yeah, so I have kind of like a low number of hours in mind and then a high number of hours in mind. And then for my pricing, it's all different packages. So it's a package deal, but I figure in an average number of hours that I would spend. So the personal shopping piece, there's a lot of background work that goes into it. So that could be, I don't know, anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. And then when I actually go to their home for the session, I make sure everything's kind of styled beforehand and organized so that I minimize their time. So that process could take maybe 2 to 3 hours for them. There's a lot of background work.
And when you do finish that, and let's say they're happy with some of their pieces, how do you make sure that they continue to have the confidence, let's say from that transition, and it carries on even after they're not working with you anymore?
Yeah, so I definitely check in with them because I want to hear, how are you feeling every day? Like, has this made a difference in your lives? And I can fortunately say that for all of my clients thus far, it has made a difference in their lives. And again, the biggest manifestation of that is through their confidence.
Yeah.
It's really through their confidence. And then I also have seasonal refreshes where they can sign on with me so that I could continue refreshing their wardrobes on a seasonal basis and making sure that they continue to have a closet of clothes per season that communicate their brand.
That's amazing. So it's interesting because I do a lot of work in coaching and helping clean up the internal landscape, right? The mental side of things, and building resilience and strength and what I call anti-fragility, the ability to get back up and grow stronger and learn from any failures, and really thinking that there is no such thing as failure. It's really just an opportunity for growth.
Exactly.
But what's interesting with your line of work, which is really focused on how from the outside you can change the inside.
Right, exactly. But I think the fun part with this is that we start with the inside. So that's where the branding work comes in, and the vision board, and just kind of the dream life, because I want to make sure that all of this feels authentic to them and that we really form that inside story so that externally that inside story is communicated.
Do you think that people can change from, let's say, they can build that confidence inside, right? And does that naturally translate into style changes, or can someone also grow in their mental strength but then still choose to wear what they always wore?
I mean, I absolutely think it can, But I think when you do express it through your style, it's an everyday reinforcement of that strength that you've built on the inside. And psychologically, what you wear really does affect your performance, and it affects how you feel about yourself on the inside, as well as how people perceive you on the outside. So I think absolutely the internal work is absolutely crucial, but this world is hard. Life is hard. And the more that you can give yourself that daily inspiration, it's almost like self-care in a way of making sure that you look your best every day, and concentrating on that, it absolutely helps you on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because as I start the process of writing my book, one of the things that I realized, and I'm more aware of it now, because writing a book it can be a very lonely process, and it's very easy, and also just as an entrepreneur, when you don't have physical meetings, sometimes to just work from your laptop in your pajamas, and then you don't actually have to take much care for it. But I realized something, which is that if I dress up for meetings, right, and I put my best foot forward, why would I not put my best foot forward for my work, right? Yes. To show up for my book and for my art. And even that change of it's almost like it doesn't matter if no one sees me, right? Because it's how I see myself. And if I'm choosing today to get up and to take care and put on the things that I want to wear that make me feel like I'm now ready to put my best foot forward, I will more likely do that.
Yes, absolutely. All of that matters. Like dressing up for your day, whether you are having a day by yourself or a day with other people, it matters either way.
Yeah. So when it comes to, we've talked a lot about your female clients. I want to go back briefly to the man who wanted the elevated life.
Yeah.
Right? What did that look like when it translated into an actual style change?
Yeah. So he also had a lot of clothes in his closet from his past, or he was just trying to figure out, okay, if I buy this from the Gap and I buy this from Old Navy, it's a white shirt. What's the difference between a white shirt, of this kind and then a nicer white shirt? I don't think that he really understood that it's the fabrics, it's the cuts of the clothes. It can be very tiny things, I find, in menswear that really make that big difference. He also didn't have a really great blazer. So his 3 words, just to give the full picture, were refined, elevated, and then we cheated for the last one. It's more of a phrase, but revolutionary impact. Not just impact, but revolutionary impact, real change-making impact. So a lot of his clothes were pretty plain. He wasn't really playing in the land of accessories. Yes, men should wear accessories. And kind of playing with a lot of those levers to get there. He didn't really have a great pair of Oxfords that he could wear either for dress up or for play. He didn't have that great pair of white sneakers. His sneakers, were from years ago. So even a great pair of basic white sneakers can create that elevation in your look. So for him, I focused on getting him just really great basics, because he didn't really have a lot of those basics in his closet, and he's busy, right? So he wanted to just be able to pull out items from his closet and the outfit would look good. So I got him a great pair of dark denim jeans that fit well. I got him about 5 pairs of different pants, some in neutral colors, like navy or khaki, and then others that were more adventurous, like eggplant and olive, but could still be used as neutrals. I got him some button-down shirts, some that had some great patterns on them, but were still very versatile under a great blazer. And then he had also shown me that he had a love of travel, and he'd put a picture of a giraffe on his vision board because he wanted to go to Africa. And so I got him a lapel pin that had a giraffe on it and one that had an elephant. So that did two things. One was that accessory just instantly elevated his outfit, took it out of the norm, but in a way that was comfortable for him. And then it's also a daily reminder of, I want to take that trip to Africa, so that's always kind of in the back of his mind. And he makes sure that happens one day because it's on him as a reminder of his goals.
And do you ask for, that sort of debrief in terms of gauging the increasing confidence afterwards?
Yeah. So for him, I did ask him to let me know how the experience was. And I even mentioned that confidence could be a benefit of this. He really just wanted to understand how to put his wardrobe together better. But on his own, he said, I feel more confident as a person. I feel more confident when I get up every day choosing my outfits, but also when I go out into the world. And so I always make sure, again, to check in with my clients to make sure that's something that they're feeling continuously. And I encourage them to keep working with me so that they are able to choose those selections that enforce it. But I also give them the tools that if they don't need to use me anymore or they can't, that they are equipped to do it themselves.
And for those people who are listening who have never worked with a personal stylist, maybe they're hesitant to do so, what kind of research can they do on their own to kind of figure out what works for them or what doesn't?
Yeah, so I would say that people underestimate the power of color. I think a lot of people are stuck in the land of neutral clothing because let's face it, it's easy. New York, people love wearing black because ash and soot get everywhere from the buildings and from the city. But the power of color can instantly elevate your look. So I think you need to learn what are your best colors for yourself, right? Is it colors like, marigold has really been very popular lately. Is it a cool blue color? Is it red? If so, what shade of red can you wear? But if you know your colors, you will instantly have that pop of boldness, and then you'll also just look more vibrant and energetic on a day-to-day basis. Power has real color, so that's the first piece of advice that I would recommend.
And what does it mean to actually know what color works on you, right?
Yeah. So there are ways online to actually color chart yourself. So I just have some fabric swatches in different colors that are made up of warmer colors on the spectrum and cooler colors on the spectrum. So, and then I compare those to my skin and just hold them up to your skin. So you can do it with things that are already in your closet. Just hold up swatches of fabric to your face of your own clothes and then see which of those colors make you look more energetic, more vibrant, and which ones kind of wash you out and make you look tired. And from there, you can kind of put together the best colors that work for you.
Great. And when it comes to brands, what are your thoughts on the importance of going to, let's say designer brands versus the Gap versus every other?
Yeah, so I think it should be a mix. I mean, it's so personal. It's based on your budget. It's based on, of course, what you can afford. I would always try to just get the best quality that your budget allows. So, if the best quality that your budget allows is Old Navy, I'm not saying anything against Old Navy, but maybe go to a site like The Real Real, and sustainable fashion is really in right now, just having that whole circle instead of throwing clothes out and destroying them. The Real Real is a consignment website, so people put clothes on the site that are very gently worn or sometimes in some cases haven't been worn at all. They've just been hanging in the person's closet and they still have the tags attached. And you can find really great designer clothes in a range of different prices. So maybe something that you would buy at Old Navy for $20, you could go on and find, a great top by Michael Kors for $20, right? So just that escalation quality will help those clothes to last longer. Think of cost per wear. So if you're looking at a jacket that's $1,000, that's a lot of money, right? But how many years are you going to be able to wear it? How many months out of the year are you going to wear it on a daily basis? All of those things matter. So then it may look very expensive on face value, but your cost per wear could be $20.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, having grown up in a household, like immigrant family, right, where we didn't start out with much, but then having, built my career and getting to this point, it is like having the capability to then think about clothes in a different way, where you're saying, it might cost more right now, but actually that investing in that quality is also a reflection of investing in yourself, which has longer lasting value over time.
Yes, exactly. It's an investment in yourself. It's part of that self-care aspect.
Yeah. As you look forward at your business, right, and the future of it, what are your goals for it?
Yeah, so right now my business is based in New York. So I mainly work with clients who are in New York City. But in the next year, I would like to start virtually styling people because I want to be able to reach people all over the country to be able to help them to reveal the best versions of themselves to reach their goals in life.
And is there any particular demographic that you work with, or you're saying kind of everyone, or any transition point in their life?
Yeah, so my sweet spot in terms of targeting is corporate millennials.
Okay.
And I choose corporate millennials because, interestingly, I talk about transitions, people who are going through transitions. Millennials actually switch jobs. I saw a stat, 70% of millennials are looking for a new job or a transition, so they're in a constant state of movement. So that's why my focus is there.
Got it. And so we're going to corporate millennials. What sorts of challenges digitally would you see? Do you think that you could still achieve that same level of like vision boarding and personalization?
I do, actually. I think with Pinterest, with Instagram, we can build those digital mood boards. And I think, through a virtual session, digital is great in terms of those mood boards and vision boards. But again, I'm a huge proponent of actually having like the physical magazines, the physical poster board, rifling through those images with your own hand, because it just has a bigger saliency. So that's something that we can do on a call together. And then they can show me the images virtually and we can go through them. The wardrobe piece, I do have ideas on how to do that virtually as well. Checklists, I can be kind of virtually there with them as we're going through the clothes. And then the styling piece, I can still go shopping for them and send them things. People are shipping things in one day now. So it's very quick for people to get those clothes. So I do see the model, of course, working virtually, yes.
And I'm curious about your own vision board in your own 3 words. What are they for you?
Yeah. So my 3 words are fearless, sophisticated, and whimsical. I was telling a friend my 3 words, and he's like, sophisticated? That sounds kind of snobby. And I'm not a snobby person. Sophisticated actually means having an appreciation for culture, having an appreciation for fashion, and showing that. And that's what I'm doing. I'm showing my appreciation for fashion as a way to improve your life and improve how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. Well, as a caveat, I don't think sophistication at all sounds snobby, so I definitely get where you're coming from. And do you have your vision board in your room? Like, is that something that you look at every day?
I do. Yes, okay. I have it right on my closet door. So I look at it on a daily basis, and it gives me inspiration.
Awesome. So for our listeners, we always have a micro action. So something, if there was a challenge that you could issue to the listeners, a micro action, something they could do today, immediately after this episode, what would it be?
I would encourage you to do your own vision board, and it doesn't take as long as you think. It could take an hour. Just get some magazines, get some food, make it pleasurable for yourself, put on some music, and really go through those magazines and think to yourself, what does my dream life look like? And taking that hour to lay all of that out for yourself visually will pay out in spades, because I really think when you put those things on paper and see it come to life, it can really manifest itself on a day-to-day basis for you.
How big is your vision board?
My vision board, it's a standard size of poster board. It probably has about 20 different images on it.
And as they're doing that vision board, what questions, in addition to what is my dream life, like what are those sub questions they should be asking as they're putting it together?
Yeah. So, in terms of your dream life, there are certain areas. So, is it changes that you want in your personal life? Is it changes that you want in your professional life? Is it a mix of the two? If you see both of those as things that you want to improve, then you can do a couple of different vision boards and you can have different themes for those.
Great. Well, this has been really interesting, and I love that we were able to merge kind of this personal style, like personal branding side. So often, as I mentioned, we talk about on this podcast, the internal journey. And so I think it's great to be able to balance that with a discussion around in some ways, the external journey, of styling yourself and figuring out how that directly connects to your internal world. So thank you so much.
Thank you.